It began not with a bang, but with a shadow. A quiet Tuesday morning that looked like any other. But deep beneath the concrete, the pulse of the earth had already changed. In the suburbs of Ohio, a golden retriever refused to bark. In the heart of Tokyo, birds fell silent. They felt it first, the rhythmic vibration of a million massive legs marching in a perfect, terrifying unison. At 7:42 a.m., the first one emerged, not from the woods but through the asphalt of Fifth Avenue. A black, chitinous tower of armor, rising like a dark skyscraper from the depths of our own world. We called them Godzillas of the dirt, but they weren't monsters from space. They were the architects we had stepped on for centuries, now grown to the size of gods. Their mandibles didn't just bite, they crushed steel like paper. By noon, the screams were the only thing louder than the collapsing buildings. Our military responded with everything we had. But how do you kill a nightmare that has no fear, no mercy, and a billion soldiers waiting in line? This wasn't an invasion, it was a renovation. Humanity's lease on Earth had expired, and the new landlords were hungry. Welcome to the end of our world. To understand our downfall, we must understand the square cube law. In our world, if an ant grew 1,000 times larger, its legs would snap under its own weight. Its heart would fail. It simply shouldn't exist. But nature found a loophole, or perhaps we gave it one. The 2028 Great Surge in atmospheric oxygen wasn't a natural cycle. It was the result of a botched geoengineering project, turning our air into a prehistoric cocktail. The ants' respiratory system, the spiracles, evolved. They developed active pumping chambers, primitive lungs that breathed in the rich oxygen, fueling a metabolism that burned hotter than a jet engine. Their exoskeleton, once made of brittle chitin, fused with carbon nanotubes harvested from our industrial waste. Their shells became a living bioarmor, lighter than aluminum, yet harder than diamond. Gravity, the tyrant of the giants, was conquered. Reinforced joints and synthetic-like muscle fibers allowed these titans to move with the speed of a predator and the power of an earthquake. We weren't just fighting insects anymore. We were fighting a biological masterclass, an apex predator designed by our own negligence. And the evolution had only just begun. The first thing to go wasn't our hope, but our power. Ants are naturally attracted to electromagnetic fields. In their new colossal forms, our power grids became their primary targets. City by city, the lights went out. London, Paris, New York, swallowed by an artificial night. Without electricity, the internet died. Communication vanished. Humanity was suddenly blind and silent. They crawled into our nuclear plants, drawn by the immense heat of the reactors. Cooling systems failed. The very energy that powered our civilization became a ticking time bomb under their mandibles. Transport ceased. Cargo ships drifted aimlessly as satellite GPS failed. The world's supply chains, the arteries of our existence, were severed in a matter of days. Isolation was the ants' greatest weapon. They didn't need to hunt us. They just had to wait for us to starve in the dark. The era of information was over. The era of survival had begun. With the cities falling into silence, humanity began its final trek. Millions poured out of the urban centers, fleeing toward the high mountains and barren deserts, places where the giants found it harder to burrow. We abandoned our history for a chance at a future. But the ants didn't just hunt. They claimed the land. They turned our forests into breeding grounds, their pheromone trails marking the new borders of their empire. Communication was lost, but the instinct remained. Climb higher. The thin air of the Himalayas and the Andes became our last walls. For the first time in millennia, man was no longer the apex predator, but a fugitive on his own planet. As we looked back, we saw them, not just destroying, but building. Massive structures of earth and steel rising where our capitals once stood. The migration had ended. The era of the fugitive had begun. The colony is not a chaos, it is a machine. At the bottom are the workers, colossal six-legged laborers that never sleep. They strip our cities for parts, carrying steel beams as if they were blades of grass. Then there are the soldiers, massive, heavy-armored tanks with jaws that can snap a concrete pillar. They don't scavenge, they guard the borders of the hive, standing like obsidian statues in the moonlight. But deep within the core, In a chamber made of glass and silk lies the sovereign, the queen. A gargantuan biological factory, miles long, her every pulse commanding the billions above. She is the brain. We are just the dust in her halls. Desperation gave birth to a new kind of war. If we couldn't kill them with bullets, we would burn them with sound. Hidden in the depths of the mountains, our last scientists developed sonic frequencies, a weapon to shatter their chitinous armor from the inside out. The mission was a suicide run. Infiltrate the nest, reach the sovereign, and trigger the sonic core. A team of specialists, armed with flamethrowers and experimental tech, stepped into the shadows of the hive. Every step was a gamble with death, but the hive mind knew. Thousands of soldier ants, sensing the intrusion, turned their massive heads at once. The silent tunnels erupted into a symphony of fire, screams, and the terrifying clicking of giant mandibles. The last battle for Earth had begun. The chamber was a cathedral of biological horror. At its center, the sovereign. She didn't move, but her presence was a physical weight on our souls. The queen of the new Earth. We had one shot. The sonic core was armed, its frequency tuned to the resonance of her obsidian shell. As the first soldier ants lunged, the device roared to life. The sound didn't just hurt, it shattered. We watched as the unbreakable exoskeleton of the queen began to spiderweb. Glowing amber fluid leaked from the cracks. A god was bleeding. With a final earth-shaking scream, the heart of the colony detonated. The hive mind was severed. The empire was headless. And for the first time in years, the humans in the dark felt hope. Victory is a human concept. In the end, there was no winner, only survivors. The war didn't end with a treaty, but with a silent understanding. The Earth had outgrown us, and we had to learn to live in its shadow. Centuries later, the ruins of our civilization are but foundations for their monoliths. We are the scavengers now, the small creatures living in the nooks and crannies of a world built for giants. A strange, haunting coexistence. Nature has written a new chapter. We were the masters of the past. They are the architects of the future. The age of man is a memory. The age of the ant is forever. What would you do if this was your world?